Welcome in. What's Right with Nick Wright, episode 279, our Week 12 gambling show. Spoiler alert on the gambling show. I had my worst week of the season, and Damonza crushed another teaser. So, happy for you. Gotta be honest, a little sad for me. I thought my process was quite sound last week. I liked where I was, and these were not close losses. These were not, I got unlucky. These were annihilations. I had the Falcons catching a couple points. They lost by 30 to Bo Nix. I waxed poetic about the Chiefs and Mahomes as an underdog. They're down 9 for the bulk of that fourth quarter. I mean, really just a debacle. A true gambling tragedy of a day. And it was, I have been on bit of a cold streak after really riding high with my actual real life bets, because I make the bets the 5 picks, I make those bets, but those aren't the only bets I make throughout the week. And I've been doing really well up until a couple Tuesdays ago. And it started with the election bets, got hammered. Just absolutely brutalized on every front there. It lost a minus 300 popular vote bet. Obviously lost overall winner. Lost the state bet, so that wasn't great. That weekend, I'll be honest, chased my gambling losses, or my election losses with some football bets. And then this weekend, it was like, well, luckily, the gambling gods have given me a gift, and that gift is Patrick Mahomes as an underdog. And so, this is one of those times where, Damonza, we pause, we regroup. We're very, very thankful that we have a good job and that we have, money set aside that your mother doesn't always see as our annual gambling budget. While that pot of money had been growing over the course of the year, it's now somewhat depleted, and we regroup. I mean, this is what we have to do. And you get the weird call from your accountant like, hey, I'm a little worried. Has your PayPal been hacked? And it's like, no, just paying people I lost bets to. It's like, really? Like, double check that. They're like, I'm like, no. I'm like, yeah. They're like, what does the KH note line mean? I'm like, well, it means Kamala Harris. I'm like, okay. What about DET? I was like, oh, that was Lions minus 3.5 in a night Jared Goff threw 5 interceptions. Like, listen, this is life. You gotta this is the
roll with the punches.
The life I have chosen, so to speak. And so I have to regroup is the short version, and today is the path back to profitability. It's the only way to I didn't even mention. And again, no spoilers, but mixed in this 2-week period, I did also play in the highest stakes poker game of my life with Phil Locke, Phil Hellmuth, Antonio Esfandiari, and others. And again, that won't come out until the spring on YouTube, and I'm not giving anything away. But what I will say is, do you think I'd be more or less tilted if I had crushed that game or not?
Yes.
So you guys go ahead and do the math on how the last, 15 days have gone for your old buddy Nick Wright. And, we keep it moving. All right. Here's what missed the cut on today's show. That was therapeutic, man. Coach Ray Lewis, maybe to Florida Atlantic. Well, he's not going to do worse than Trent Dilfer. LeBron celebrates Dalton Connect, which has been just a great draft pick by the Lakers. He's been awesome. And my favorite tennis player of all time, Rafa Nadal, has retired. All right, Damonza, let's get to an organization, a team, some people who somehow have managed to have a worse last couple weeks than me, the New York Football Jets. Go ahead.
Yeah, so the Jets fired their GM. Somehow that's not the huge story coming out of there. Apparently, their owner, Woody Johnson, wanted to bench Aaron Rodgers after week 4. This organization's obviously a mess from top to bottom. You can't really just put it all on Rodgers, but he's a part of it. People say Belichick would be a great coach again if someone else ran this team. Do you think the same would be true for Aaron Rodgers?
No, so listen, it's obviously not all on Aaron, and Woody is one of, if not the worst owner in the league. And here is my big concern for Jet fans out there. Because Jet fans, the majority of them deserve better. And I say the majority of them because I don't really care if Fireman Ed gets better or not. Ever since that guy ran to the media and was like, they're not putting me on the Jumbotron as much as they used to. They're phasing me out. Like, buddy, relax. You're a guy that wears a fireman's helmet to football games and they really think you're the 54th guy on the roster. Like, calm down with the Jets ops are phasing me out of the operation. But most Jet fans, good folks. And they have to deal with the fact that they live in a two-team city, and if the people who aren't Jet fans are Giant fans, and while the Giants have been a disaster for the last half-decade, they are a prestige franchise. They won Super Bowls with Parcells. They won Super Bowls with Eli. They've played in big games like 2 times over. So I do feel for Jet fans, sincerely. Again, except for Fireman Ed. And here's my concern. It appears to me Woody Johnson might be the reason I think he fired Joe Douglas, who I have no tears for Joe Douglas. I'm going to bounce around here a bit. I apologize. It is very, very clear that Joe Douglas made a lot of friends in the media when a guy who's 30 and 64 and got 6 years to be a general manager, people are like, oh man, look at all these great players he drafted. Bro, you ran this team for 6 years. They were a disaster the whole time. Yeah, the drafts couldn't have been that great. And we were like, oh, the 2022 draft. You had the 4th, 10th, 26th, and 36th pick of that draft. You're supposed to do well in that draft. Now, you got one of those extra picks by trading the Jamal Adams trade, which was an all-time good trade, and credit to him for that. But the little mini violins for Joe Douglas, because he had been a friend to media and maybe fed some stories, like, it was a little too much for my taste. Like, he wasn't done wrong. But firing your GM mid-season is odd. It's not like you fire a head coach mid-season because you want a spark. Firing your GM, it doesn't make a lot of sense. So why do I think Woody Johnson did it? And here's where I feel badly for Jet fans. Because I do believe Woody Johnson is going to take a job with the Trump administration like he did 8 years ago. Probably ambassador to England once again. And when that happens, he has to relinquish control of the team to his brother Christopher. I think what Woody is trying to do is get a head start on everything as far as the next head coach and the next GM, so he can make those hires before he leaves. And that is going to create such a terrible situation for the Jets, because you're going to have a new head coach, a new GM, both potentially hired by a guy who now is no longer in charge. And for the next 4 years, Christopher's going to be there. Is he going to want the people his brother put in place? Are those people going to feel like who's the actual boss? Like, it's just a bad process. What if Woody knows he's going to take over an ambassadorship to the United Kingdom like he did 8 years ago, then these should be Christopher's hires, because Christopher's going to be the one who oversees it. But it does not appear that that's what's going to happen. So that's bad news for Jet fans. Now, the idea that Woody, I believe this reporting, okay? I believe the reporting that Woody Johnson went to Jeff Ulbrich last week and said, you need to bench safety Tony Adams. I believe the reporting that Woody Johnson gets ideas from fans on social media and then brings them to the coaches and wants them to implement it. And I believe the reporting that Woody Johnson after week 4 wanted them to bench Aaron Rodgers, and then after week 6 wanted them to trade for Aaron Rodgers' buddy Davante Adams. Even though those two things seem to be in conflict, it's because we have no evidence whatsoever that Woody Johnson knows what he's doing. Now, with all that said, as it turns out, benching Aaron Rodgers would not have been the wrong decision. It would have been, now that we know what happened, they wouldn't have been worse. Since he wanted to bench him, they've lost 6 of 7. They fired their coach, they fired their GM, and one of the benefits of, if they would have benched Aaron Rodgers for Tyrod Taylor, they wouldn't have traded for Davante Adams. And that Davante Adams trade is now going to end up being the worst trade of the NFL season. That's going to be around the 70th pick that they gave up for a dozen unproductive games of Davante Adams for a bad team. They gave up for Davante the same, almost exactly, same exact pick the Titans gave up for L'Jarius Sneed. They got Sneed in his prime, long contract. Because the Chiefs are going to have the Titans' 3rd-round pick this upcoming year. Right now, that's projected to be pick 68. The Raiders are going to get the Jets' upcoming 3rd-round pick. Right now, that's projected to be pick 70. So it's the same thing. Like, that's a disastrous trade. But then the other reporting is that the Jets don't want Aaron back next year. Okay? Now, there is a little... The other thing I'd be worried about if I'm a Jet fan is this, because further reporting is that Aaron is actually really close with Christopher. Does Aaron slow play will I or won't I retire to try to prevent the Jets from cutting him until Christopher takes over and then be like, no, I want to come back, and see if he can lean on that relationship as a reason they don't cut him? Because if they cut him, who is signing up, Damonza, for Aaron Rodgers next year? Would Aaron Rodgers have a single team in the league that says, we want you to be our week 1 starter? I don't think so.
Panthers might be
I got to think the
I guess
Panthers
they're going to get a quarterback out of the draft, maybe.
Are going to draft a quarterback. Yeah, so I went through it yesterday on the show, and we can quickly do it here. If we take the most liberal view of what teams might be in the quarterback business next year, okay? AFC East, none of those teams. Allen, Tua, Drake, May are locked, and the Jets this is under the assumption the Jets have cut Aaron. AFC North, Ravens, Bengals, no. Browns, maybe. But when the Browns are still dealing with the Deshaun Watson thing, I don't think they're all of a sudden going to be like, we're going to bring in another expensive old quarterback. So cross them out. Steelers are an intriguing one only in this regard. Neither Russ nor Fields are under contract for next year. So they don't have their quarterback under contract.
I don't think Mike Tomlin's working with Aaron Rodgers.
Not after what's happened this year. I agree with you entirely. Yeah. I think not after the way it's gone. I think you would have once upon a time, but not at this point. And I think their plan is probably to bring Russell Wilson back, right? So now the AFC North is out. AFC South. The Jags and Texans have committed to their quarterbacks. They're not available. Titans, Colts. I don't think the Colts are going to pull the plug on Anthony Richardson. I think now that they've gone back to him, I think they're going to give him next year to see. The Titans are a maybe. So let's set the Titans aside. Chargers, Broncos, they all think they all have their guy or think they have their guy. The Raiders are going to be in the quarterback business. Tom Brady is going to have a strong say in that. Do we think Tom Brady, with everything he represents about leadership, team, any of it, is going to be like Aaron Rodgers is the guy? Absolutely not. They're going to draft a quarterback. So there's that. NFC East. Philly, Washington, Dallas, all as their quarterbacks. The Giants need one. The Giants' new regime is going to draft a quarterback. Flatly. Like they're not close enough and don't have the, to be like, oh, we're Aaron Rodgers away, so they're out. No one in the NFC North is in the quarterback business. No one in the NFC West is in the quarterback business. So then we go to the NFC South. Atlanta's got two quarterbacks. Tampa's committed to Baker. Saints, Panthers. Panthers are drafting their guy. The Saints just extended Derek Carr, and they're in cap hell. So when we go through the whole thing, Damonza, there is one team that maybe would be in the Aaron Rodgers business. The Tennessee Titans. The only team. And I think that would be crazy. I think the Titans need to be honest about where they are. They're not Aaron Rodgers away, and he's not that good. So I say all that to say this. Even everyone's like, will Aaron retire? I think it's going to be a forced retirement. I don't think there is going to be a team that wants him as the week one starter. I do think there is a possibility that there is a team next year during the season, if a quarterback gets injured, that a really good team, the example I used on the show yesterday was a team that's in the position the Lions are right now. We're rolling. We can win the Super Bowl. We have a great roster all around it. That quarterback gets hurt. Would that team potentially call him? Maybe. But he hasn't put good tape out there in 3 years. He obviously is not a leader. He's obviously not accountable. So yes, the Jets thing's a disaster. I also think we're watching the very end of Aaron Rodgers' career. And it is a nondescript, sad, self-inflicted ending. And so that's where I think we are with the Jets. And I'm going to say one other thing on this, Damonza. I'm totally fine with if that 15 minutes right there is the last we talk about the Jets this year. I don't need any more victory laps. I was right. Almost everyone else in the media was wrong. I'm fine with it. Like there is a real soft skill to being an NFL quarterback that involves leadership, that involves taking accountability, that involves being there for your teammates, and a hard skill of being an NFL quarterback that involves being able to move, having two functioning Achilles, still being the player you once were, and Aaron goes over on all of them. So, we're talking about if Woody's going to take a job in the Trump administration, maybe Aaron gets the ambassadorship to Peru and can become America's foremost ayahuasca expert. But his career as a relevant NFL player has a half dozen games left. That's where we're at. All right, let's go to the tiers if we can.
So the committee shocked America on First Things First yesterday. You guys put Buffalo at number 1. Kansas City's at number 2. Did you guys do Mahomes Mountain?
Yeah,
you guys did
of
it,
course,
right?
on Tuesday. That's on Tuesdays. Yeah.
Right, 100%. So I did
Mahomes
not catch
is
it.
still number 1.
Okay. So it doesn't make
Mahomes
sense.
still number 1 on Mahomes Mountain. What do you mean
Okay.
it doesn't make sense?
It would make sense for
Here's
Josh Allen to be the number 1 on Mahomes Mountain because he's on
well,
the best team.
So here's the thing. So it's a rich tapestry. It's not just record. It's not just head-to-head. It's not just stats. It's a lot of things. Patrick is in a position right now where and then we'll get to the tiers, where in order for someone else to have a legitimate claim that they are the best quarterback in the league, I think they have to pull off the Triple Crown this season, meaning they have to win league MVP, they have to beat Patrick in the postseason, and they have to win the Super Bowl. If Josh or Lamar or Burrow, but Burrow's not going to have the opportunity, do any of those things, or do all of those things, pardon me, and then you want to say going into next season, this guy is the best quarterback in football, so be it. I might disagree, but it'll be a fair argument. But when one guy is the two-time defending Super Bowl champion, we have seen him each of the last 2 years play perfect postseason football, and the team does still have the best record in the league. No, and he is in the discussion for the greatest in the history of the league. He is going to stay atop Mahomes Mountain. The tiers, on the other hand, again, we do have a committee. There's a lot of people that vote on this. I made similar arguments for the Chiefs that I just made for Mahomes. Like, they need to lose more to be knocked off. The committee said, hey, Buffalo's looked better the last 6 weeks. They just beat them head-to-head. They beat them by more than one score, which is only the 5th time in 124 career games for Mahomes. The Chiefs got beaten by more than 8 points, so they went atop the tiers. But go ahead with the rest of your questions. Sorry about that.
Yes, Patrick Mahomes came out and said that losing is probably a good thing. Do you expect the Chiefs to come out and be better after the loss, or are you convinced that the team that you've seen so far is all that they need to win the chip?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of speculation. Oh man, bad news for the Panthers. Chiefs angry, coming off a loss. They're gonna roll the Panthers this week. Probably not. Probably win by like 4. Like, the Chiefs don't operate as if the objective is to blow the other team out. And I know that can frustrate people, and it's why people foolishly are saying the Lions are the best team in the league, because they do that. But the Chiefs use the first half of these games to work on things, and then trust that in the second half of these games, most notably the fourth quarter, they are going to find a way to win. Now, this week, it bit them, and they need to, look at what happened and why it happened. But even this week, when the Bills went up 9 with 14 minutes left, what did you instantly see? The single best drive of the Chiefs season. Bang, 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 right down the field, no resistance, touchdown. And I'm sure in that moment they were like, okay, great. Down 2, defense gets a stop, Pat gets the ball, we go win the game. Defense didn't get the stop. They played with fire a little too much in that game, starting with Patrick's first interception on the first play of the game, and all of a sudden you're down by 9 with 2 minutes left and the game's over. As far as my level of concern for Kansas City, it's non-existent. They are, while other teams are now injuries are starting to pile up, the Chiefs in the next 2 weeks get Isaiah Pacheco back, get Charles Omenihu back, who hasn't played since the playoffs last year. There are now rumblings they are going to get Hollywood Brown before the end of the regular season. He hasn't played with them at all, so they're going to have more weapons and better offensively. And the other reason I am not worried about the Chiefs at all is I simply think the Mahomes interceptions are going to go away come the postseason, because they always do. And the sneaky, most important and craziest stat of this NFL season, Damonza, is the following. There are 10 teams who have a -5 or worse turnover differential in the NFL this year. 10 teams, okay? Those 10 teams currently have the worst record in the league, the second worst record, the third worst record, the fourth worst record, the 5th worst record, the 6th worst record, the 8th worst record, the 9th worst record, and then Seattle, which is 500, and the Chiefs, which have the best record in the NFL. So let me say that again. Every team in the league that has a plus-minus of -5 or worse, there's 10 of them. 8 of them are 8 of the 9 worst teams in the league, all 2 or 3 win teams. And then the outlier is Seattle, which despite the turnover differential is 500. And then the super outlier is the Chiefs, which are 9-1. So they have played one of the toughest schedules. They have the best record, and they're doing it despite the fact they aren't forcing turnovers and they're turning the ball over like crazy. Now, some would say, oh, well, that's going to bite you in the playoffs. But they don't turn the ball. Patrick doesn't turn the ball over in the playoffs. Since the last time they lost a playoff game, he's played 7. He has 1 turnover. And so
Can't act like that
I'm not
scare
concerned.
You a little bit. Scares you a
What do
little
you
bit.
mean?
Would you not say
Why would
Patrick Mahomes is throwing picks at a rate higher than of the past? Like
It's not that much higher than last year. So that's the thing. People, I would be concerned if we didn't see last year. And by the way, last year, this also applied. Last regular season, the Chiefs had the 5th worst plus-minus of any team in the league. They were -11. The other teams that were -11 or worse were the Commanders, who were awful, Minnesota, who was mediocre, the Falcons, who were awful, and the Patriots, who were 3rd worst record in the league. And then there's the Chiefs at -11, tied with New England last year. And then what happened in the playoffs? They stopped because Patrick stopped. And so last year's Chiefs team was not good offensively. This year's Chiefs team is good, but not
that's
great
what I was
offensively.
thinking. Like, that wide receiver room was pretty bad, and now he's got better weapons, so I feel like should be less likely to throw more picks.
So I don't know how much better weapons he has this year as presently constituted. So and by DeAndre Hopkins has been an awesome addition. And the Chiefs' offense has looked really good since they added DeAndre Hopkins. So and Mahomes' numbers are way better since they added DeAndre Hopkins. Xavier Worthy will be a good player if he stays healthy, but he's a rookie wide receiver going through growing pains. And I want to make this clear. Patrick has not played that well. His footwork's been weird. He's had bad turnovers in more games than not. And so if the Chiefs get this level of play from Patrick Mahomes, they can win the Super Bowl, but it'll be a dogfight. But if they get playoff Patrick Mahomes, which they do every single year, then they're far and away by a mile the best team in the league. All right, next.
So you've been on an island when it comes to Lamar. Everybody loves him. You see right through it, I guess. And you also find yourself being the most pro-Bills guy and anointing Josh Allen and the Bills. So weird timing. Josh Allen just passed Lamar Jackson for the MVP race. How far are you willing to take this? Are you willing to take it as far as saying that Josh Allen will win the NFL MVP?
Well, right now he's the deserving favorite. Listen, to me, the top 2 guys should be him and Saquon. I think Saquon's reinvented that Eagles team, and Saquon's numbers are unbelievable, and he also has had 7 or 8 touchdowns sniped from him. But did you see this? 9 times this year, Damonza, he has ran the ball to the 1-yard line, and 8 of the 9, the next play was a Jalen Hurts tush push. There's just been... So he could have 17, 18 touchdowns this year. He has 10. He could have, a bunch more. So I think Saquon's been unbelievable. Josh has been great. And in the biggest game of the NFL season, Josh made the game-winning play. So I got a little annoyed on the TV show the other day because Wild said my Bills takes are confusing. And I said it's actually not confusing at all. It's very, very consistent every single year. My opinion on the Buffalo Bills every year I've been on TV has been one thing and one thing only: the correct opinion. Like, that's what it's not confusing at all. It's just I'm right. So when everyone thinks the Bills, 3 years ago are this unstoppable juggernaut, I said, no, they're a good but not great team. Last year, when folks said this is the year that they're going to, get Kansas City, they've got it in Buffalo, I said, no, the Chiefs have another gear, they'll get them. 2 years ago, when everyone said it's Mahomes and Allen Mahomes, and I said, I think you're forgetting Joe Burrow in this equation. Joe Burrow then played Allen in the playoffs. He played great. Allen played poorly and beat him. This year, when I said you guys are drastically overrating the importance of Stephon Diggs, Hyde, and Poyer, and this Bills team is not going to have to worry about the Jets in that division. They're clearly the best team, and the Bills are the second best team in the AFC. I've been right again. And so this would be a year that Josh deserves legitimate MVP consideration, unlike previous years when it's been, in my opinion, what people are actually doing with Lamar this year, which is only discussing his great games and trying to ignore the times he's struggled. That's what we've done with Allen in the past. This year, he's been the engine. He's been smarter with the ball. He doesn't have great weapons. He has run the ball more judiciously, but just as effectively. So, yeah, Josh Allen's been playing the quarterback position better than anyone in football this year. His team's got the second best record in the conference. That's usually how you win league MVP. And so,
Not how you get on top of Mahomes Mountain, though.
No, again, it's a rich tapestry. And I do have to tell you, if it were called Allen's Alps, then maybe he would have a stronger case. But it's quite hard to knock the namesake off the top of the mountain. I mean, it just is. All right, last one, Damonza.
So you declare yourself a NFC bachelor, and things are getting pretty serious. Now it's down to two teams. The winner of Philly and the Rams will win your heart. Bachelor Nick, please make your decision. Who wins your heart Sunday?
Oh, that's a heck of a background you've got there. So here's the deal. I'm actually not going to make a prediction for this game. I'm going to tell you what I'm rooting for, though. So let me back up in case the audience hasn't been following this, Damonza, on the TV show. So my preseason pick was obviously the Bears, and they're cooked. And they fired their offensive coordinator, and Caleb up until this past weekend had been struggling, and so they're cooked. So I've admitted defeat on that, but I have to pick another team. And so let's just go through the potential teams that didn't make the final cut. Washington is slowing down a bit. Jaden hasn't been the same guy since his ribs got cracked. I don't really trust Kingsbury, so take them out. The Packers, I think, have been a little smoke and mirrors lately. I think they're good, but they're not going to win 3 consecutive playoff games all on the road, so take them out. Obviously, no team from the NFC South can do it. And in the NFC West, the Niners, I think, are going to miss the playoffs. The Cardinals are a hell of a story, but they're not winning 3 straight playoff games. So, who's left? Who's left is the Lions, the Eagles, and the Rams. Well, the Lions, A, it would feel a little front-running. B, Coach and Greg already picked them. And C, and I know Lions fans very mad at me about this, I don't fully trust Jared Goff. So, they're out. So then we have the Eagles and the Rams. Now the Rams, I've abandoned the Bears. They're 4-6. The Rams are only 5-5. The Rams might not even make the playoffs. However, they've won 4 out of 5. Stafford, when he's got both his receivers, is just deadly. They crushed the draft on that defensive line with Verse and Fisk, and they get pressure on the quarterback. Now that their offensive line's getting healthier, they're dangerous. McVay's as good of a coach as there is in that conference. The Eagles, it's a weird spot because I don't trust the coach at all, and I only kind of trust the quarterback. But the defense went from awful to really good with Fangio and his additions. I didn't think they'd be able to do it. When the receivers are healthy and Jalen is willing to run the ball as he is more this year than last year, that's how that offense gets to 2022 offense. Jalen Hurts with some read option stuff, Jalen Hurts running the ball, tush-push cooking, and then deep shots to A.J. Brown, who's just unbelievable. And Saquon has been a world changer. So, it's Eagles-Rams. I'm rooting for the Rams this weekend. I would rather have the Rams be my pick. But if they lose and fall to 5-6, they're a long shot just to make the playoffs. So I hope the Rams win because I want to ride with the Rams. But if they don't, Philly is positioned so well to be at the very least the 2 seed, maybe the 1 seed if Detroit falters. And they have such a well put together roster right now. I don't know if Sirianni would screw it up. And in a game management off, Sirianni versus Dan Campbell is really not like Dan Campbell's got some game management issues himself. So it wouldn't be as much of a killer. So I'm not making a pick for this game. I'm going to, let the chips fall where they may. But the winner of this game, I've got going to the Super Bowl. That's what I'm telling you. The winner gets my pick for the NFC to play the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. I hope it's Rams. I would love to be able to root for the Rams the rest of the year, and Reed McVay in the Super Bowl would be dope. No, I'd rather play Philly.
Oh, okay.
Because if the Rams get to the Super Bowl, it means they started 1-4. Yeah. I mean, it would mean that they would probably at that point have won, 12 out of 15 to get there. And the Chiefs, either of these teams would present problems for the Chiefs' second corner, whether it's Devontae Smith or Cooper Kupp that the Chiefs' number 2 corner has to line up against. But I'll be rooting for the Rams. All right, quick break. What's Right Gambling Show, Week 12. Damonza's weekly winning teaser, and I try to get back on the winning track. That's next. What's Right? Welcome back in. What's Right with Nick Wright, episode 280. Did I say 279 earlier? Whatever it is, it's episode 280. All right, let's just get this over with. The recap of last week's picks, because these are bad. These are bad picks. You should have talked me out of some of these, Damonza. I mean, this is a train wreck. 1-4, worst week of the year. Pittsburgh +3 against Baltimore. That worked. It was obvious on a lot of fronts. There was a brief moment where it looked like I could get screwed if Lamar could have pulled off the 2-point conversion. Then all of a sudden it goes to overtime, and Baltimore winning by 6 is available. The other picks, though. Atlanta +2.5 at Denver. They got boat raced. Absolutely just destroyed. Cleveland -1 at New Orleans. That game was 14-14, Damonza. And then I look up. What? Go ahead.
No, I had that. I had that in my Blazing Five. Yeah, it was tied 14-14. I think the kicker missed the field goal. There was a flag. He ends up kicking another field goal, misses it. That game screwed me as well.
And then the Saints scored 21 unanswered. Taysom Hill looks like damn Walter Payton. 7 carries for $138. They lose by 21. So that's a disaster. New England +4.5 against the Rams. They lose by 8, but that one was gross too. And we've already talked Chiefs Buffalo. So really just a train wreck of a week. There's no getting around it. And we're now, how long has it been since I had a 5-0?
5-0?
I think it's
4-1. Shoot, jeez.
I think I had let me check. I think I had a 4-1 earlier this week or earlier this year. I can look it up real quick because our graphics guy sends me. Let me see. No, I had a 4-1 in week 5.
5-0,
but
5-0.
Well, that's last year. I think it's 2022.
22. Oh yeah.
I don't think I had a 5-0 last year.
Yeah.
So this is a disaster. There's no way around it. I mean, there's no mincing words here. We are 26, 28-1 on the year, which means we need to go at least 4-1 this week just to get above 500. 5-0 would get us nearing profitability at the least. So let's back to the basics here. Some of these games, I got to be honest, are some ugly, grimy games, but you got to do what you got to do. And Damonza, we're starting with Thursday Night Football. We're starting with the game tonight. Go ahead.
Yeah, we've got a Cleveland +3.5 versus Pittsburgh.
Yeah, so it looks like you don't love this one. I'm instituting a rule for the rest of Nick's picks, the rest of the year. AFC North teams that are home dogs of at least 3 is an auto fire. The rest of the year, if it is an AFC North, again, in a divisional matchup, if it's AFC North versus AFC North and the home team is getting at least 3, I'm betting it. So I think this is a potential letdown spot for Pittsburgh after last week's game. The total in this game is only 37 points, which means Vegas says it's going to be very low scoring. Low scoring games, getting the points feels good. Cleveland, not quite as bad as the final score suggests from last week because, again, that game was 14-14 and then it got away from them. This just feels like another ugly Pittsburgh win, 16-13, 17-14, something like that. I'm getting 3.5. AFC North underdogs cover 61% of the time against the spread over the last 6 years. That's the best of any division. Pittsburgh, I mean, it's a short week for both teams, obviously, but Pittsburgh maybe a bit of an emotional letdown after the Ravens game. I like Cleveland getting the points in this spot, so I'll take Cleveland +3.5. And Jameis, for them to only have scored 14 points, Jameis did have 395 passing yards and 2 touchdowns in that Browns game. So he played well. He had a bounce-back game after his poor performance the week before. I don't think he's going to do that against Pittsburgh, but I'll take Cleveland +3.5. Next.
You've got Tampa Bay -5.5 of the Giants.
Yeah, so Tampa's coming off a bye. They got a little extra life for their season over the last couple weeks because of how Atlanta has looked. You know Baker's going to be sharp. They got more life in that. I don't think they're going to have Mike Evans this week, but Mike Evans returned to practice. Maybe they'll have him this week, but they know he's coming back. And the Giants, it's not just that they're starting Tommy DeVito. It's that the team seems pissed about it. One of their star defensive players came out and said, yeah, I'm mad that we're not starting the best quarterback we have in Daniel Jones. Drew Lock is pissed. He's like, I signed here thinking I was going to be the number 2, so I don't know what's happened. Tommy DeVito we saw him last year, is the reason they won the games they won. Their defense and special teams crushed. It was less about Tommy DeVito. He was more meme than production. I don't mind laying this many points because I think this is a game Tampa jumps out to a 10-point lead and holds on to it. I don't think the Giants are a backdoor cover type of team at all. I think they might be a let go of the rope type of team now that they've benched Daniel Jones. So this feels to me like a 27-10 type of Tampa Bay victory. Rested, healthier, off a bye.
Simple as that, yeah.
Tommy DeVito, but Danny DeVito wouldn't be much difference, I would assume. And so, yeah, Tampa Bay -5.5. And by the way, road favorites off a bye, laying this much, 7-2 against the spread in their last 9. That doesn't mean that much to me, but I just like Tampa in this spot. Next.
You got Tennessee +8 at Houston.
So this is another one of those ugly ones. However, I don't think Houston's offensive line is good enough to warrant them being more than a touchdown favorite against a good defensive front. And the Titans, for all their weaknesses, their biggest strength is that defensive front. I know that Jeffrey Simmons hasn't had quite the year that he's had in years past. He's still awesome. Harold Landry's really good. Tavondre Sweat's been good as a rookie. There are a lot, like, that is the part of this game where I think Tennessee has a decided edge. They're going to run Tony Pollard a lot. They're going to try to shorten the game. Houston is, off a bit of, not a huge, but off a bit of a short week. And I didn't think, even though they ended up blowing out Dallas, I didn't think they looked overly impressive, throughout the early portions of that game. You take out the Dallas game, not take out, but prior to the Dallas game, their last 4, they lost to the Packers, they beat the Colts by 3, they lost to the Jets, which is a flashing red alert. They lost to the Lions despite Goff throwing 5 picks. There's only been 2 games all year they blew out the opponent. The game against the Patriots 6 weeks ago and this Monday against Dallas. And even again, that game kind of became a blowout on the rush, fumble, strip sack, fumble 6. It's just too many points. I don't think it's a divisional game. You're going to play the Titans again later in the year. I like Tennessee +8. Feels like maybe 20-14, 20-17 type of game. I don't love it, but the right side of this game is Tennessee +8. And also Tennessee this past week, if you weren't watching, they got a great stop on fourth and goal. It got wiped away due to a really awful defenseless receiver penalty but when you looked at the replay, it was a totally clean hit to the player's chest. That flipped that game. Otherwise, they're right there with the Vikings in that spot. The Vikings are better than the Texans. I like Tennessee +8. Next.
Green Bay -1.5 versus San Fran.
Yeah, so this is the first time in Purdy's regular season career he's been an underdog, which is a banana stat, but it's a true stat. If Nicky Bosa's not playing, this Niners defense goes from mediocre to awful. And I don't know that he's playing. And try as he might, if Nicky Bosa's not going to be out there, he can't make the Niners defense great again like he wants to. And so that concerns me. I don't think the Niners offense has been as crisp of an operation, shockingly, when Christian McCaffrey's out or not looking like Christian McCaffrey. They don't look quite the same. I agree with Kyle Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan came out and said Brock Purdy's playing at the exact same level he did the last couple years. Totally agree. And the numbers are way different. Why? Because the pieces aren't the same as they were the last couple of years. Brock Purdy is a mirror. He is going to reflect exactly what the players around him have to offer. He's not going to elevate. He's not going to pull you down, but he's not going to elevate. And so the Packers can't feel great about how they've been playing. They escape against the Texans. They escape against the Jags. They escape against the Bears. They obviously lost the Lions in the middle of that. The Packers, to me, are a better team than San Francisco. They are at home. They are laying less than a field goal. Matt LaFleur against Shanahan, 27-24. Green Bay win. 27-23. Green Bay win, something like that. Packers are the better team at home, laying less than a field goal. I like Green Bay in this spot.
Yep, I like Green Bay.
All right, next one.
Last two picks. Arizona -1 at Seattle.
Yeah, listen, the Cardinals are flying a little under the radar right now. What I like about where they're at is they're coming off a bye, while Seattle is coming off a super emotional kind of theft of a win against San Francisco. Arizona has won 4 straight games. They now play another team whose defense I don't totally trust. Kyler's playing some of the best football of his career. I like Arizona's knows that the Rams are likely coming for him. They need this game. The 1 point I don't mind laying. This is not, as long as a lot of teams that play in Seattle have to come cross country. Arizona doesn't. I think Arizona's better. I think that Seattle is still getting a little too much of a Lumen Field bump from the bookmakers. They're 1-5 against the spread at home this year, 8-15 at home against the spread over the last 3 years, which means Vegas still thinks that that's more of a home field advantage than it actually is. I like Arizona to win outright, so laying the 1 point I obviously don't mind. So, my 5 picks of the week, Damonza. Tonight, Cleveland getting 3.5 at home against Pittsburgh. Sunday, Tampa laying 5.5 at the Giants. Tennessee getting 8 at the Texans. Green Bay laying 1.5 at home against the Niners. And Arizona laying 1 on the road at Seattle. But this is the part the whole audience has been waiting for, where Damonza prints money for everyone. Last week, Damonza gave out a teaser that counted for his record and a super teaser that didn't. The teaser that counted hit because he did a 7.5 pointer, so he got KC all the way to +10. So even though they lost by 9, everybody had Kansas City +8.5. Damonza had them +10. That last point really mattered, so it hits, and Pittsburgh won outright, so +10.5 is great. Damonza's super teaser, if people are interested, were those 2 picks plus Seattle, which won outright, but he was getting 14. The one that ruined you was the one I did caution against, to be fair, which was Jacksonville. Because Detroit, you had Jacksonville +21. You could have had them +41. It wouldn't have covered, if that makes you feel any better. And because they lost 52-6. So that one didn't work, but that one didn't count for your record. So what are we doing this week?
This week is just a 7-point teaser, 2-teamer. We're teasing Kansas City against the Panthers down to 3.5. And we're teasing New England at Miami up to 14.5. Was gonna do a little half point to get it down to Kansas City to 3 and New England up to 15. But I think that they will blow out the Panthers, unlike you. I don't think they'll, 21, but I could see them beating 10, 12, something like that. But yeah, that's the teaser. It's at minus, the odds aren't on here. I think it's -163.
No, minus 150.
Okay, yeah.
Minus 150. So, listen, obviously with the Chiefs, you would love to get it through the 3. I'm fine with that. I love the New England side of it. because New England is, they let Drake May chuck the whole game. So even if Miami jumps out to a big lead, they are, New England's, the backdoor cover's alive. Now, New England historically, in the history of their franchise, they've only won 17 times in Miami. They've played them 60 times. So I don't think New England can win the game outright. But getting 14 and a half,
points.
in a divisional game against a Dolphins team that just needs to win, they can't be worried about style points. And New England's been competitive. They've been at least competitive adjacent. So I like this one. I'll give you an A-. Not that, listen, my grades matter at this point. I like this one a lot.
Thank you for the A-.
Okay, thanks. No problem. Listen, you've been rolling.
We've got the Week 12 offer.
Okay, let's do it.
So Kansas City's obviously going to beat Carolina this week, all right? So if they do, it'll probably be a bit of a statement. So your offer this week is going to be Carolina under 7.5 points at plus 390, and Mahomes to throw 0 interceptions at plus 100. Total parlay value at plus 880.
I hate to disappoint the audience, but I'm going to have to turn this offer down. Holding a team under 8 is really hard. And
like those odds should be way higher for that, right?
Yes, that's how I feel. Like, I couldn't believe that it was only plus 390. The Panthers, now listen, the Panthers twice this year have been held under 8 points. Against the Chargers, they scored 3, and against the Commanders, they scored 7. But they've won 2 in a row, they scoring 23 and 20. Bryce playing a little bit better. So under 13, that I think is totally reasonable, or under 14, I should say. Under 8, I can't do, so I sadly have to turn the offer down. Last week, the offer I gave out was the Travis Kelce touchdown. That didn't hit. But I didn't mind the process on it because Noah Gray got 2 touchdowns. So the idea the Chiefs were going to, get down in the deep red zone and find a tight end was correct, but it was Noah Gray for both of them instead of Kelce. Under 13.5, they're putting it in there right now, I think. What the plus is. If it is under 13.5 and no picks for Mahomes is plus 348. All right, I'll take that one. I'll take a 21-13 Chiefs kind of boring victory, and the Panthers don't get 2 touchdowns. Because the defense got to be a little pissed about how the Bills game ended. All right, let me answer some. Take a quick break, come back, answer some listener questions next. What's right? Welcome back in. What's right with Nick Wright, Damonza. Let's do a few listener questions, please.
Danny Tanner, any thoughts on the Hall of Fame semifinalists, and who do you think will be chosen this year?
So you guys know I loved the Hall of Fame stuff, and last year when the semifinalists came out, we whittled it down to the 5 who I thought should make it, and I was even shocked by this. We went 5 for 5. That was like kind of an underrated one of my prouder things was doing it on the fly. We whittled it from 25 to 15, then 15 to 5. We did not have Gates making it last year. That was incredibly controversial, and we went 5 for 5 on that. I have a lot of thoughts on it that I don't want to rush right here. So at some point in the next few weeks, we'll do a big, long Hall of Fame segment. I talked on TV yesterday about how I don't think Eli should be in. We'll spend time on that because I do think he will get in, but I don't know that he'll be first ballot. So we'll do all that, but just not today. All right, next.
Kevin Marlowe, Nick. Of the 3 AFC West teams, which is the most intriguing to battle with the Chiefs for the foreseeable future?
Oh, it's the Chargers without question. They have the best coach of the group. They have the best quarterback of the group. They're building through the draft. No, the Chargers are coming. If they're not already here, they're coming. So that'll be a hell of a battle. Next.
Lamar Jackson. Nick, he says, thanks for watching, Lamar Jackson. But
yeah.
Nick, if you, Brew Wilds, and Damonza were on a 7-on-7 football team, what would your positions be?
So I think Brew probably has to be all-time quarterback because he's not going to be moving all that well because he's an old guy. So I think he's got to be the quarterback. And then in 7-on-7, isn't it everyone else just a receiver?
My receiver, yeah.
Yeah, I don't really know. I
do think there's a center for some reason. Or actually, no. Maybe I think they start off with the ball. The quarterback might start off.
I would make myself and Damonza the wide receivers, Wilds the running back, and Brew the quarterback. That's how I would do it. Right. So Wilds is sneaky, really strong.
Really?
Wilds is sneaky jacked. Yeah, for real. I know it was as surprising to me as anybody the first time I knew it. But yeah, Wilds bikes a ton and lifts weights I think every single day. So I think he would be a good running back. You have the height and the leaping ability for wide receiver, and I'd be a Ladd McConkey possession receiver type. Real great hands. Not going to really stretch the field on you these days. But yeah, and Brew's the quarterback. So that's how we'll do it. All right, next.
We got Romer84. I understand your skepticism of Nick's, but he's shown growth already, especially without great receivers. What do you think his ceiling is? Purdy, great with Avengers, but won't be one himself.
Yeah, listen, my priors on Bo Nix are too strong to move off after 10 games. I mean, the age part of Bo Nix cannot be underplayed as far as how much better is he going to get. Bo Nix is 2.5 years older than Anthony Richardson. He's 3 months younger than Trevor Lawrence. He turns 25 when the Super Bowl happens. So he has Sean Payton, 60 games of college starts. So I just think he's close to a finished product. So I don't see this upward trajectory. I think he came in close to who he's going to be and he's going to maintain. So I think serviceable is who he's going to be. I know people get annoyed by that. And listen, I'm open-minded to being wrong, but I don't think I'm going to be wrong. I think Derek Carr is his ceiling. Not current Derek Carr, but peak Derek Carr is to me that's his ceiling. All right, Damonza, great job today. Appreciate the audience. Hope you hit your teaser. Hope I go 5-0. You know what? Let's just go 5-0. Let's have a 5-0 week. Turn this gambling around. Not get calls from my accountant what are all these Venmo transactions? Mind your business, man. Do all that. There's Damonza at the Bachelor background. See you guys on First Things First at 3 o'clock. What's right? Hey, thanks for watching. If you're still here, do me a favor. Hit the subscribe button, then hit the bell so you can be notified when we have new episodes. After you've done that, one more favor, go to your favorite audio platform of choice and subscribe there as well. Don't forget, we're live every Tuesday and Thursday, 10:30 a.m. Eastern-ish. 10:35, 10:40, it sometimes changes, but that's why you hit the bell. You hit the bell so you're notified. You subscribe so we can get to 200,000 followers. We're right around 150,000. We'd love to get to 200,000, get Damonza another plaque. So like, subscribe, rate, send a rating too. Do all that cool stuff. Thanks, guys.